I don't think it's an uncommon thing by any means for values to shift greatly over the years. I think there's probably very few of us that can go, I believe all the same things that I believe when I was 16, 17. And if you are one of those people, let's work on that. I think that's a little bit crazy. Unless you were crazy smart at 17. I mean, shout out to you if you are. But the point is, I've had one value over those years that has remained extremely intact, that has remained at the core of my values that honestly, I question sometimes. I question not because I don't believe in the value, but I question because I truly wonder what I mean when I say it, and that's freedom. I've always said that I think freedom's one of the most important things to me. Not freedom in terms of like, America. Like, obviously, cool, I think, freedom's good on that level too, but I'm talking about personal freedom here. I'm talking about my own freedom to do what I want, when I want to act how I want, when I want to go where I want, when I want to, all that. That's actually one of the reasons I have loved living here in New York, because I think there's a great, I don't know what I'm saying have loved, I was born here, have loved living in, been existing in, I don't know, what's the term? I guess living in works, right? I've loved living here because there is that freedom, right? There's freedom to go and do what I want. I could choose anything and go ahead and do it right now, because it's here. I think that's a very unique thing. I think it's awesome. But along with that, I think there is a moment I need to ask myself, what does freedom look like, right? Because for context, I follow an extremely regimented daily routine, right? Not like Ashton Hall regimented. I'm not like that guy waking up at 3 a.m. I'm not that crazy. But like, I have a lot of things I do. This is one of them. I also have a job that I hold down. I have friends I go and see. So I keep a schedule that's insanely strict, right? Like I plan out every hour of my next day before I go to bed one night. Some days I can't hold to it even. It's so strict. And as much as I deem that to be freedom, outside of the fact that, of course I have to be certain places at certain times, because I do unfortunately have a job. Fortunately, I suppose. I'd say fortunately. I don't know. Sometimes the money's not worth it, but that's besides the point. I can only wonder sometimes, like, is it freedom if I'm still following the same exact thing every day and I can't change it because I have responsibilities? Responsibilities set by myself, but responsibilities nonetheless. Is that freedom? What does freedom look like? Because I think when we all imagine, like, imagine right now in your head the purest form of freedom that you possibly can. There's probably a little bit of chaos in that, right? There's probably a little bit of maybe spontaneity, a spur of the moment thing. Freedom is the ability to be like, I'm gonna go and just blow off all my responsibilities today. That's how it is in the movies. It's very Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's what freedom looks like when you're younger, right? To me now, freedom would look more so like, okay, let's say this does well, and my only responsibility would be to record this every day, and I can choose to do whatever I want with the rest of my day. That also, I will be completely frank with you guys, I don't know if that'd fulfill me, but that's what freedom looks like to me right now, because it's like, even though I do think if that happened, all I would do is fill the rest of my day with more things to do and keep a strict schedule again. Some of this might admittedly come down to me just being the type of guy that's like, I want to have a schedule, and I feel like I'm not doing anything if I don't. There's an element of that definitely exists here. But nonetheless, I do think it's an interesting question to ask of like, if freedom is just me hating the current cage I'm in and always seeking to get out of it, and then I build another cage the second I get out of whatever cage I'm in. At one point it was school. I was like, I hate school. I graduated. Now I have, now I'm a person. And I do my own stuff every day. I'm a part of the workforce, I suppose. And now it's like, that is the next thing. If I were, let's say, to move on from that somehow, I'm an extremely lucky person. I get lucky, I win the lottery, and I move on from that, right? And then I start up a new hobby. Let's say I start like a little clay store on Squarespace or whatever. Clay pots, not just clay in its pure form. Then I would be like, man, this clay store has been taken out of me. I wish I could go parasailing. And then I start parasailing, right? Parasailing is too much effort. I think that this would never end, right? Like, what does freedom look like? I think on the one hand, there are definitions of this, right? Like, let's move away from myself for a second. Like, what is freedom for like a population, right? What does freedom look like? It's the idea that you can have autonomy over yourself and you have a great deal of possibility. Let's just put it in like super simple terms like that. This is not a political science class by any means. But like, by those means, I am free, but nobody feels free when they're living like that, right? Like, if I just give you like the ability to move wherever you want, whenever you want, and like, you can go do anything, it's not really like, you still feel like there's something that's not there, right? There's been, I think one of the reasons I think about this so much in my own personal life is because Albert Camus and many people from his time have the idea that like freedom's a burden, right? Like, freedom is not something to be sucked out, but rather something to be avoided, because with freedom comes responsibility, and sort of akin to what I'm saying here, from my understanding of it at least, you're going to build yourself your own cage, right? You have to build yourself your own cage, and then that's just as bad. So they say freedom is something that's not to be craved in excess. I don't like that. I think part of this could be me being so attached to just this word freedom that I don't actually, that like I'm not willing to contend with any negatives. This happened for me with a while with art, right? Where the word art, like I would never say that content, for an example, is art, because I was like, no, people don't like content. Like, if there is a whole swath of art that I don't like its effects of it, because, you know, TikTok's making people have short attention spans, I can't call that art. And then it took me like almost a year to break through and be like, okay, fine, that like technically, yes, that's art. I see this happen with like AI art all the time, where people are like, no, as much as like, yes, it has all the features of art, I will never refer to it as art because, you know, it's AI, right? And ignoring the fact that like a human needs to make the prompt or whatever. This is not a time to get into the AI conversation, but I think that like there's a very common thing that happens where it's like, I don't like this thing, so I don't want to put it in this category. And in a way that I think that even speaks to this idea of freedom, because that's a lacking freedom of mind then, right? If you are beholden to nothing as a person, then you are 100% free in your mind. If you have no conceptions that you're beholden to. For an example, like, let's say I live in a place where it's like illegal to walk on the sidewalks on Thursdays. In my mind, I'll get in the conception of like, okay, it's really bad to be walking on the sidewalk on Thursdays. If you have no conceptions though, then you're completely free from all of them, right? That's a good thing, you'd think. But then again, then it's like, so what's wrong with somebody and going, like, you can just do anything then? And is that too much then? There are so many conceptions that we have right now about the way the world works, living in America in the year 2025, that are going to someday be viewed as heinous and unfathomable, right? That's just the way things work, I think. So then, like, is freedom the ability to evaluate your own conceptions then? Because is freedom, I think, is the core of this question. Is freedom the having nothing that you're tied to, or is it having the ability to choose what to tie yourself to? And I think the problem that I have in my own life, outside of the parts where I don't have the choice of where to tie myself to, in my own life where I can 100% choose what to do, I think the problem I have is I tie myself to something, and then I'm like, see, this isn't freedom, even though I chose that cage. And I think that's an interesting question. If you choose your own cage, are you still in a cage? I guess it depends if you have the key. You know, give me the key like $1 million. I feel like that'd give me the key. I don't know. I feel like I got way too interested. I've been getting a little too introspective in a lot of these guys. I don't like that. I feel like you know way too much about me now. I didn't mean to start this series to psychoanalyze myself. Speaking of 180 episodes, shout out to that. This is better than it's been. Still not good. I might be done with these colors. These colors are pissing me off. Like, the only cool thing about these is the blue. What even is this, like dumb, like, gnarly, grotesque sand color? I hate it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these colors, guys. We might be switching these up. Anyways, until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 180. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.